Good afternoon and welcome to our plenary session that is today focused on energy industry challenges to a low carbon economy, the renewable energy sources and the gas role in the transition. This title of a session is a recurrent title of our conference, of the plenary session of our conference, because it's a central subject for the transition phase of decarbonizing, to try to decarbonize the system. The renewable energy are have a central role, and all the countries are trying to develop their production. But gas has an intermediate role, because in the first phase, the gas, the natural gas, have the task to substitute other fossil energy or pollutant. Then there is the first phase of the gas is this, but in a longer term, the gas will be also a renewable gas. Then this opens the discussion on the hydrogen, the discussion of biomethane, and so on. This is the subject that the speakers of our session are called to their presentation. There is an order that is an alphabetic order for the speakers, but I have no reason to change this order unless they suggest other order. The four speakers that we have today are Alessandro, company, Futura, that is industry. We can fix a time of 20 minutes.
Sorry for the interruption. I suppose one of the speakers, the first speaker, can go on and start to present until the chair can get back and connect, please.
Thank you.
Present yourself so we can go on. You can please present yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Alessandro Lagostena. I'm in ESG, which is an independent power producer from renewables, and I'm the head of environmental and energy studies for the company. And I would like to share with you some slides about a quite specific item for us, which is the repowering, the potential of the repowering of existing RES farm, and mainly wind farm. And I try to share my presentation. Okay. Okay. Let me give a feedback if it's visible or not.
Visible, Alessandro.
I'm not sure you can see the slides, but in any case, this is the agenda I would like to propose. Just a few words on who Zaghi is, and then a brief overview of the industrial context for powering, and then the main bottlenecks that could limit potential of this technology, and lastly, a wrap up of main points that we'd like to cover. So, who Zaghi is about? Zaghi is an independent power producer from almost renewables with more than 80 years in the energy sector. The first 70 of them in the oil business, and then more than 10 years ago, a big change toward electricity production, mainly from wind, solar, hydro, and also a gas-fired plant qualified as steam-based. We are now listed in the Milan Stock Exchange, and we are the leading wind operator in Italy, and among the first 10 in Europe, and among the first 5 in Italy also for photovoltaic. And this is more or less our situation as of today. We have some 3.3 gigawatts of installed capacity in these technologies listed in the left side of the chart. So present in 7 countries in Europe, and of course, majority of the installed capacity is in wind, and it is in Italy. But we have at the same time a similar pipeline of new projects in wind farm, in wind and solar technology, because as for our business plan, we'd like to become a pure wind and solar company. And this is well shown in this picture that briefly wrap up our main target for our industrial plan that we presented and adopted, and it is still in operation for this year and by 2025. We'd like to grow in scale by 1.5 gigawatts in wind and solar, and 200 megawatts of them will come from repowering of our Italian wind farm, of selection of our plant, and we have also a plan which is fully integrated with some sustainable development goals that we adopted to address our business plan. Just a few words about the industrial context on repowering, but in general, the main driver is the net zero strategy that all over the European Union is first, but also member states and other European countries are putting in place, and which is supposed to be the most disruptive and important change for society, the economy for this century, which is of course highlighted in the climate neutrality by 2050, which drives all our choices also for an industrial point of view, and specifically for energy. As we can see in the lower part of this chart, we have also some ambitious targets in terms of electricity consumption for 2030, so kind of intermediate targets that show very well how electricity can play, that electricity is playing and can play for the future a key role for urbanization. And also these figures tells also about the importance of extracting all the possible energy also for the existing plants, particularly for wind, where in 20 years a big technology gap, sort of jump has been made. And this is more or less the overview of regulatory aspects that, where repowering is playing. First of all, the renewable directive transposed into law very recently also in Italy tells that repowering needs, as well as the other technology, to compete in tendering procedure on the same level playing field. And this is what is happening in most of countries, except for Italy for now, because Italy allowed repowering to participate in that auction just 1 year ago. But for now, some limitations still remains and are related to the capacity of auction reserved to repowering, which is just only in case of some spare capacity after the participation greenfield occurs, and on the other side, on the tariff side, an extra cut of 5%, irrespectively of the auction price, is applied to repowering and only to this, with the wrong assumption that repowering could be cheaper than greenfield project, which is of course not true, because repowering has also to cover all the dismantling costs and the disposing costs of the old and existing assets. For the point of view of CO2 footprint reduction, well, repowering, of course, can act a critical role, as well as greenfield. This chart is based on the right side on real case in CCD, and this shows very well, quite well, of more advantage that repowering can add to the system, because as you can see, we can more than double the installed capacity, more than half the number of wind turbines installed, with, of course, a positive impact on the visual side, and a great increase in energy capture and production, with more extraction of energy at any wind speed. On the left side, we have a picture of our repowering portfolio, concentrated mainly in Italy, and half of which is already in our business plan for 2021-2025. And most relevantly is that more than half of our portfolio of repowering has been already fully permitted, and 3 projects of them have already won an auction, the second last, and another project participated to the last auction. From the ESG point of view, of course, repowering can match most all of the sustainable development goals that we put in our business plan, but we would like to underline the circularity one, because of course the repowering operators are forced to find out some more circular solutions for disposing the dismantled wind farm, and particularly for the linear link of the chain, which is represented by the wind blades, one of the few components that for now is not fully circular. And for now, we adopted an objective in circularity that over the 98% of our repowering projects. This chart shows very well the technological jump that repowering can achieve in our existing plants. The power curve that you can see on the right side explain very well the other level of performance that updated turbine, the state-of-the-art turbines can give compared to the oldest one. And on the second, on the left side, we can also see in the plot plan how deep is the reduction in terms of number of turbines installed, with of course a very positive wind, a very positive visual impact. Talking about the bottlenecks, of course, the most relevant of them, of course, not only for repowering, is the authorization process. We are experiencing now, since now, some of 5 years to achieve a fully permitted wind project in mid-size utility scale, let's say, and the need to deal with almost 30 public bodies to achieve this target. The most frequent problems has been represented to the landscape evaluation, impact evaluation, which is in most of cases negative, despite the fact that all the other authorities give a positive feedback. And this is, of course, a very a problem also for that can hinder the whole trajectory towards the 2030 targets. Fortunately, in these last few months in Italy, we had some regulation that could help repowering, because under certain characteristics, dimensional characteristics that we can see in this table in the right side, repowering can be made as a non-substantial modification, and this could lead to quicker permitting procedure. And this is also in combination with transposition decree of the Renewable Directive into law, and for the fact that the so-called RES suitable areas are those areas where the repowering is, or where the project of repowering, let's say mild repowering, so the repowering that comply with the charge of the table above, are considered a suitable area for RES by definition. And this could help further cut in permitting duration, and most importantly, a non-binding opinion by the Ministry of Culture. Of course,
5 minutes, Alessandro, 5 minutes.
Sure, I'm going to the end. Of course, we have to prove by fact that this kind of simplification will have a positive impact on our business. But of course, we can say this is a good start. The other cluster of bottlenecks regards to the access to the grid connection. We have two families of problems. One is the high separation degrees of the current grid in specific nodes of the grid, which are placed, most of them in the southern part of Italy, where the wind farms are concentrated because of the wind availability, of course. But that part of the grid is the weakest of our grid. So, of course, further problem can can cause by 2 hour repowering process. For just to be quite slightly more technical, we have also a problem of lack of high voltage stored in the electrical substation, and this could limit again our projects. And most importantly, the second family of problems are related to the design and the timing of the development plans by TSO that often are misaligned between with the targets, the decarbonization targets, particularly the Italian one is still designed with the previous target by 2030, and on the other side also misalignment on the real connection requests by operators. This, of course, can hinder the potential of the target. Just to wrap up this few information we gave. So we believe that there is room to unlock the potential of powering. Of course, we need to act on the authorization side with taking into account the peculiarity of the powering compared to the greenfield, which are not the same technology. And of course, we have to guarantee a fair level playing field in terms of access to options of powering and greenfields without penalization that we saw for Italy in the slides before. And we also would like to give priority of the powering because it can combine the fight against soil consumption and the increase in terms of capacity addiction of wind power. So this is, of course, is a sort of unique characteristic for the power in this sector, while having also the reducing consistently the number of kilowatts. And lastly, just in the list, investment in transmission and distribution, because this is, of course, one of the main points to address our decarbonization target with electricity, reducing as much as possible the impact for the consumer. And in these slides, I thank you very much for your attention, and I give back the floor to Carlo. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alessandro, for your presentation, very interesting presentation. I ask the other speakers or to the participants, they are connected, if there are any questions on your presentation. Otherwise, I suggest we go on and we try to concentrate the session, question and answer at the end. If we maintain, we succeed to maintain at least 5-10 minutes for the question and answer at the end, we can have all together question and answer. Okay, then we go to the second speaker that is planning the program, Simone, Nisi, Regulatory and Public Affairs Head of Institutional Affairs, Edison. Simone.
Good morning, Carlo. Can you hear me well?
Yes, yeah, now I can. Sorry for the disruption I had before, but staying at home perhaps it's difficult to control the situation completely. Now I can hear you very well. I don't know if you follow me.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. First, I would like to thank the Italian Association of Energy Economists for the organization of this discussion and for having me here. Well, nowadays, climate change, energy transition, and sustainable growth are long-standing and serious global challenges, as highlighted even very recently by the conclusion of G20 and COP26 in Glasgow. Today, these issues are made all more crucial by the COVID-19 crisis, which is prompting the need to strike the right balance between the essential global recovery and the environmental and climate targets. Altogether, we have a significant chance to rethink our economies, pursuing greener and more inclusive growth models. In this context, I work for an important and historical energy company. In this context, the energy sector plays a pivotal role. Collaborating with the public sector in general, we can boost the potential to accelerate the path towards the energy transition, fostering national and industrial value chains, and creating many new professional opportunities, in particular for young generations. I have. From our perspective, Edison, as you may know, is active in many different fields of the energy sectors, from the low carbon generation to the gas markets. We are the second gas importer in Italy. So far, we are still already investing in the LNG value chain, in the energy services sector, and in the retail market. So the profile of my company is very broad and very coherent with the European Green Deal and the Italian Energy and Climate Plan. Thus, I have three main considerations. The three pillars, the two main pillars and drivers of the energy transition are renewables. I'm speaking about wind, solar, and hydropower, and energy efficiency at all levels, as shown by different and numerous instances of key legislative actions carried out both at the national and at the European level. I am referring first to the Fit for 55 package currently under discussion in Brussels, and even today we will have the presentation of the new directive of energy efficiency of buildings. So an increase in the production of renewable capacity energy sources and the enhancement of performance level and energy saving capabilities, both for industries and for domestic consumers, will be key to reach the target of 2030. It means the reduction of 50% of greenhouse gases at the European level, and above all, to reach the so-called net zero at 2050. Second point, given current demand forecasts, we should be very clear on the role gas will have in the medium term of energy markets. It will be, from our side, from our point of view, fundamental to continue to invest in natural gas alongside renewables and energy efficiency. As noted even very recently by the European Commission itself, natural gas will play a crucial role as a transition technology. in order to ensure security of supply and affordability, and to act as a backup in case of intermittent renewable production. Moreover, and this is another important point to be taken into account, natural gas acts even as an enabler, and encourages the emergence of markets for new gases, namely green gases and hydrogen. Third pillar of my consideration about the governance of the energy union and the governance of the different pieces of policies governing the evolution of the energy markets. I firmly believe it's important to ensure that every single member state should have the possibility of carrying out their own energy transition. This is true at the European level, is more and more true at the global level, where there are different energy mixes and there are different starting points for the energy transition. We should focus on, every country should focus on its own specific energy mix. So there is no, in my view, only one, not a single energy transition, but there are different energy transitions, all aimed at the same target and scope. So it may be avoided to try to equate different national situations and to envision everyone advancing at the same speed. We should consider differences and solutions in general should differ. In conclusion, the strategy seems for us very clear and even shared both at the European and the international level, as shown, I repeat myself, by the conclusion of G20 and COP26. On the other hand, on the governance dimension, we need to better coordinate different policy pieces and strategy with a comprehensive and integrated approach. I think that after reading the different pieces of proposal of the Fit for 55 package, a few considerations came up, and I believe not all the different instruments and different perspectives for the new and old energy sources were very well coordinated and integrated. So I think we should do some further efforts on the path to net zero to 2050. On the top of these three pillars, renewables, gas in the transitional period, and governance, I think we could identify other action priorities. There are for sure a few other strategic dimensions that could help and could support the decarbonization and the transition of different industrial sectors and different supporting different dimensions of investment. I have already speak about renewable and gas, but I would like just to clarify and specify a point, a few points on renewables. We should focus and promote even the development of the local potential of renewables and investments aimed at building and modernizing renewables plants, as previously shown even by Alessandro. This could lead us to boosting technological evolution and mainly reducing environmental and landscape impacts. On the gas, I think a medium-term European strategy on gas supply is needed. We should take care of the gas sector and ensure the efficiency of the system and of security of supply and of volumes of gas in the medium term, and supporting the penetration of renewables and the transformation in general of the energy systems. We should focus even on new technology solutions. We need an upgrade of existing technology. Together with new RES capacity, we should even develop new flexibility tools like, for instance, hydropower pumping or electrochemical storage systems, even of small size. This is very important for instance, local communities or decentralized generation of power. And we should even focus of new sources of energy. I made reference to green gases, biomethane, bio-LNG, and the new very important supply chain of hydrogen. We should invest not only in the production and on the infrastructural side, but we should from a European national perspective invest even in the supply value chain in terms of components, in terms of supporting the growth of new industrial chains in Europe, even considering the role in terms of share of energy hydrogen could play or should play according to the European strategy at 2050. Another very important area of investment should be devoted to sustainable mobility. This sector could register fast and tremendous beneficial effect for the environment. Heavy road transportation and maritime transportation needs have an already in place technology, which is LNG, and my company Edison is investing in a supply chain and a logistic chain for LNG for the maritime sector in Italy. So we look at this source as the most mature and already in place to support in the short term the decarbonization of the transportation sector, with many related benefits for cities and urban context where big ports are installed. Final, this is my last point, but it's very crucial for European targets at 2030 and 2050 is a point related to the innovative energy services. In general, energy requalification and renovation is one of the main areas for sustainable transition. In this sense, it is very, very crucial to support and to help the industrial sector to reduce energy consumption. This would require, for sure, targeted investment to improve environmental and technological profiles of the industrial sector, aiming at enhancing the energy efficiency, especially on the so-called hard-to-abate sector. This is very true and can somehow support and speed up the penetration of green gases and hydrogen in hard-to-abate sector. Energy efficiency as even an additional big area of investments is the one of public administration and public real estate assets, such as buildings of the PA, hospitals, school, and in general, all the real estate assets owned by the states, by the public authorities that need a very big and solid plan of restoration. This is very well oriented in the Italian resilience and recovery plan, but more in general, it's a very important point, even in the current debate at the European level. Finally, a few words on the role of citizens and the role of communities. There is no energy transition if we don't allow territories and citizens to have affordable and secure energy supplies. Energy communities in particular allow the full involvement of citizens towards greater awareness, contributed to the economic and social development of many territories. Even cities, metropolitan areas in general can support and must face the challenge of the energy transition, responding quickly to the changes and to the new needs of citizens through the ability, and this is a very important point, even in Italy, to adapt and innovate at the local level. To conclude, I have described a sort of list of many priorities we should address in the next few years. We have many challenges ahead, but from the perspective of an energy operator active in many different sectors of the energy sector, we are ready to contribute to this transition, and we should all together collaborate in order to reach these goals to 2030 and 2050. Thank you.
Thank you to you, Simone, for your very wide presentation of the different issues that we have in front of us for the next years. The experience at your company in different sectors gives the possibility to give a spectrum of alternative problems that we have to face for the transition, not only for the production, but also for the distribution, for the innovation, for the new way to cover the different needs of the market, open to the consumer, to an active role of the consumer, for instance, that you mentioned at the end of your presentation. I think that there are many points that can move some questions, ask some questions, but I suggest to try to save some minutes at the end for the questions. Now I ask Ahmet Türkoğlu, what is his reaction in front of this kind of problem from his point of view, from the point of view of a company that is an energy company mainly oriented to the activity of exchange of buy and sell energy on different conditions. What is your position, Ahmet?
Thank you very much, Carlo. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have a very nice topic. I'm gonna talk about the topic in terms of world perspective, then I will go zoom in local perspective to Turkey together with our energy exchange. I am CEO of Energy Exchange Istanbul. I am also a board member of Association of European Energy Exchanges. Also, I have a colleague from Italy, Andrea on the board. First of all, energy crisis is a very hot topic nowadays, but it started before the high demand. In Texas, during the winter, we saw great problems in terms of outage, and the problem affected many people in terms of heating and also paying the invoices. For example, here from New York Times, I have a paper. Scott paid more than $16,000 for his regular invoice. Then everybody alerted about energy prices in US. But because of drought, because of vaccination all over the world, demand increased rapidly, and it affected everybody all over the world. We saw lots of strange things because of high energy prices. I have one on the page. In UK, regulatory authority in the energy sector of Ofgem put a solution suggestion on their web page. What happens if your energy supplier goes bust? This is very strange for energy market players. And also prices increased rapidly. I took first 10 months, but today's is also completely different. Wholesale gas prices increased more than 4 times. Today it is much more, maybe more than 5 times in average. The wholesale electricity prices also increased for the first 10 months, more than 2 times. Today it's also very high. For example, in Italy, the AIEE market price today is more than 300 euros. But if we look at the consumer side, we see the changes are not so much in prices. This means that governments are supporting consumers in different perspectives. Most of the countries in Europe asking for price cap, but in general, it was not accepted. What happens if the prices fluctuate so much? We can see at the left-hand side. If you look at the black points, we see the cost of producing electricity from gas. Today's subject is gas also. So the cost of electricity from gas, let's say gas to power, is increasing rapidly, and it changes all the balances all over the markets. So, okay,
can you move the slides of your presentation?
Is it not moving?
We can see only the first. If you can pass
all the
okay.
Now I make it larger. You can see it now. Black point, left-hand side. Okay. The cost of gas for power production is very high nowadays, and also fluctuations of the power market prices. Prices are quite range when we look at the previous years. You see, the prices are fluctuating between 10 to 180, but this is, as I said, for 10 months. But today it is around 300 euro. The fluctuation is getting wider and wider, and to manage the market or to manage the cost getting more difficult, maybe unaffordable. On the right-hand side, we see the gas part. It is fluctuating too much and creates so much value for gas traders. But the problem is a reflection on consumer side, and the governments pay a lot to keep the prices stable for consumers. In some countries, we saw direct payments. I think in Italy also the government paid directly for invoices. And also we see some trading companies, some suppliers, distribution companies are going bankruptcy in France, in United Kingdom. This situation let people think about for future. This is also valid for ACER, Agency for Regulation in Europe, to cooperate all regulatory authorities in Europe. As you can see, energy markets operate with the highest price according to merit order. At the right-hand side, do you see my slide now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No problem. You see, if there is a 100 gigawatt hour demand, we should choose all the suppliers from solar, wind, hydro, coal to gas. Then energy exchanges pay 70 euros for all suppliers. So we call it marginal remuneration according to merit order. ACER is thinking about to change this, and I don't think that it will be very easy to apply it. It may be impossible, but they are offering an average remuneration. So those who have higher costs will get more, but those who have less cost will get the average. So if you are a wind supplier, solar supplier, your cost is much less than the others, since you don't have any input, you have only capex. So they are thinking about the design of energy markets in the future in this way. You can see ACER at ACER web page. On the other hand, we see market is completely changing. The change led by digitalization and decarbonization. Now we see different systems, different suppliers, different consumers. They are all mixed and intertwined with each other. The key issue here, I think, demand side flexibility. There are lots of players in traditional, conventional way. Now we have suppliers and renewable suppliers are getting higher and higher in terms of number and capacity or generation. On the other side, consumers are more conscious about climate change, and they ask renewable sources, and they are willing to pay more through guarantees of origin market or emissions trading system to let the markets survive in the way of renewable capacity increase. In the past, our investment cost was 1/3 of the total cost. We paid a lot for fueling the energy. Let's say we are paying for gas, coal, or any other materials fuel to generate power. Now it is changing with the boom of renewables. When you install renewables in your system, then your investment cost is getting very high. On the other hand, since you don't pay for input, your, let's say, OPEX is quite low when we compare with the traditional system. So after returning of investments, we will see competition very fierce. And also this will affect decarbonization on the positive way. After investment returned, your cost will be near to zero. Maybe 1 cent or 2 cents you will spend for your OPEX, but energy market prices nowadays is around 30 cents. But originally it was around 7, 6, like that. So it is very affordable and sustainable to continue with renewables. But the problem with renewables is related with their volatility. You should balance renewables with some other sources. That's gas nowadays. We talk about storage, but since innovation on storage technologies are not enough to boost renewables, we need to balance renewables with gas or nuclear power plants. So gas will be still very important with the rise of renewables. On the other hand, we need to change subsidy schemes in this regard. If we look at net zero emission scenario of International Energy Agency, we see that renewables will get the biggest share with solar, wind, hydro, and other renewables. But the problem, the change is too big to manage. We need to be elastic more than what we used. So our flexibility or elasticity should be 4 times higher than today to manage this change on the way of net zero emissions. So everything will be adapted according to this system. If we can't find solution for storage, gas will be vital for the future. Let's zoom in Turkey and our exchange. You know, Turkey ratified Paris Agreement last month, and we will target net zero emissions as 2053. But it is a very brave decision for Turkey, and it will cost a lot to decarbonize the energy sector in Turkey. Our installed capacity is increasing very fast. It is 314. It is 100 gigawatts, and the consumption is 314 as of yesterday. And you see the increase of installed capacity comes from solar, wind, and hydro power plants. But still we have gas and coal in the capacity mix. That's very critical for Paris Agreement. On the other hand, when we look at total capacity compared to renewables share, for last 10 years, in Turkey, we see a rapid increase in renewable installment, and it affects the total capacity on the positive way. Total capacity completely led by renewables in Turkey. If we compare it all over the world or in Europe, Turkey is within the top 5 country in Europe in terms of renewables capacity. It's increasing for the last 10 years, similar to Italy, France, and Spain, but quite big difference with Germany. When we look at the development plan of Turkey, we see there is a huge way to go, and it is planned to grow and will be very difficult to manage because of decarbonization targets. So primary energy demand is increasing 18%, electricity demand for 24%. Actually, installed capacity also increased very rapidly. So it is very important to include carbon-friendly power plants. So Turkey's plan are on the renewables, more focused on solar and wind, plus nuclear power plants because of low emission of nuclear power plants.
You have a slide, but we can't see the slide.
Oh. Do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, this was the plan of the government. Let's move to gas capacities. You see here, pipeline capacity will be stable for coming years, but LNG and storage capacities will continue to increase to manage renewable energy balancing. Also, pipelines are going to small towns to feed houses and offices or plants. So the demand for gas increasing in Turkey rapidly. Actually, for the last couple of years, it was stable around 45 billion cubic meters, but this year demand is very high, so it will be around 60 billion cubic meters. I saw the prices in Europe and in Turkey at the beginning. Here you see the prices in Turkey a little bit reasonable if we compare with European prices because of long-term contracts of Turkey with Russia, Iran, and Azerbaijan. But the problem, it was agreed for 45 billion cubic meters, and this year's demand is 60 billion. So the remaining 15 billion will be paid on spot price, so it will affect the average, but it is much better than European average. Let's have a look at power prices, because gas prices also affecting power prices in Turkey and in Europe. Actually, last year our day-ahead market spot price was 35 euro, and this year it was medium in European level. This year it is 45 euros, but it is the most competitive one because we have a price cap by regulatory authority on our market. And also the increase of price is not same as the increase in Europe. In Europe, prices increased rapidly and drastically. So it affects grading when we look at the prices. It is same for quantities, but quantity base is little bit similar with this year and last year. You see, we were the 4th largest market in Europe, and the clearing amount was 181 terawatt hours. This year it increased, as today 194, and we became the number 3 as the largest market in Europe, because here we see Germany as the 4th player, and German power futures affect the spot market, I think. If you look at the value side of this cleared quantities, last year we were the 2nd one, 6.4 billion euros. But this year, since our prices increased less than European prices, and as of today, our total cleared volume is 8.9 billion euros. To summarize our market, Energy Exchange Istanbul is operating spot power and gas markets together with power futures for gas and electricity. And we also operate guarantees of origin market in Turkey. Power futures and gas futures together with geo market launched this year. So we are happy to do it with cooperation in Europe with our colleagues, friends, also in Italy. We are happy for this cooperation. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you to you, Ahmet. Your conclusion pushed me to ask a question to you and to Simone in order to the gas crisis that we are living now. And I want to ask you, what is, from your point of view, structural reasons or temporary geopolitical or other kind of reason that influence this situation, that are at the origin of the present situation for the gas market?
I can answer, but to whom you ask for 2 names, so I may wait my turn anyway. Simone or me? You point us.
Simone.
It's not that easy to reply to this question. There are for sure many reasons. One is the recovery after the COVID-19 crisis has been stronger than expected. Second, the global gas market currently are and have to be considered at a global level and as international influences on the flows of gas and mainly of LNG. Second, there is even, I think, a few reasons of policies. In the last 10 years, European policies have mainly supported short-term gas strategies, and in situation of crisis or when it's more difficult to find out a few molecules of gas, the market in general can suffer. So I think perspectives mainly in the first part of 2022 will be more positive than currently, but we should even consider what is expected to happen in Asia and in South America in general. So we can we can only orient and address a part of the issue, as many decisions and many influences on current European situation come from other parts of the world.
Ahmet?
I think the problem is both structural and temporary. There are lots of reasons. The main reason is high demand, but there are other problems. First of all, Norwegian gas supply has decreased. That's very important, I think, in Europe. On the other hand, Russian domination in European market is not welcomed, but if you don't start to operate with Nord Stream 2, then it will increase the stress more, and it is decided that in Europe it is deferred to start. Then it's a big problem in terms of supply. The countries like Italy, depending on gas, will suffer from this situation. And also Russia, because of this fact, is limiting, I think, the quantities, and it is double effect. One pipeline is not open, the others are limited, so it creates big problem. On the other hand, renewables, we like renewables, we support renewables for decarbonization, but high renewables means high need for gas today, and for short term or medium term. So we need gas on the other hand. So when we look at all of these, it's a big problem to solve. Temporary problem, if Europe accepts Nord Stream 2, it will solve part of the problem. This is the temporary one. The structural one is renewables, actually. We should balance renewables with gas, and we need gas. On the other hand, European internal supply of gas is getting less and less. One side, American gas, LNG, it is supplied, but spot prices during the crisis was very competitive, and Turkey also benefited from it very much. But nowadays spot prices are very high. Maybe we don't like pipeline long-term contracts, but we should use energy exchanges, energy markets with long-term contracts more than usual. It's another opportunity. We should maybe agree with gas suppliers like Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Qatar, Algeria, any country, on the basis of energy market contracts. There should be a solution, market-based solution. Otherwise, there is long-term contract. When it is squeezed, you have no chance. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And now, Andrea Zaghi for the last speech. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Carlo. Good afternoon to everybody. Let me share my presentation. Can you see?
Yes.
One moment. Okay, before starting, 2 words about us, about Elettricità Futura. We are the leading association in Italy. We represent the electricity sector. We have over 500 companies of all sizes active in the production and marketing of electricity from both conventional and renewable sources. We have distribution, we have companies which provide services for the sector, legal, engineering, O&M, asset management. Over 70% of the market is provided by our associated companies. They have 75 gigawatts of installed electrical power. They employ 40,000 people, and they have 1,150,000 kilometers of distribution lines. In my speech, I would like to talk about the reasons, the main reasons in support of energy transition and decarbonization. Then I will focus on the advantages of developing renewables energies against the recent price spike, and then I will give an overview on Green Deal targets for Italy and what they means in terms of investments and employment for our country, and what we expect national government and regions have to do in order to support the achievement of these targets. First of all, why we should make the energy transition. There is a strong, there's a strong correlation between the increase of temperature, of global temperature, and the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. In this graphic, it's very, very easy to understand this. You can see that at global level, the temperature has increased till 1.2 degrees in 2020. In Italy, we have a higher increase, 2.4 degrees, and the level of CO2 concentration has reached the level of 419 ppm in 2021. If we will do nothing in 2034, in our estimation, we risk exceeding the 1.5 degrees increase, 1.5 increase of temperature, and this will be very dramatic because there are very negative effects by the climate emergency. An example about Italy: in 2021, Italy was hit by 143 extreme climatic events, an increase of 17% compared to 2020. It's quite sad to say that Italy spends over 1.5 billion every year on the consequences of the climate emergency, and what we spend for prevention is just 1/5. COP26, in our opinion, in our vision, it has been a good starting point. It's not an arrival, but the agreement, the Glasgow Climate Pact contains many good points. For example, the containing of the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees by 2050, and the reduction of CO2 emission by 45% by 2030 compared to 2010 levels. For the first time, there is a reduction of coal written, and there is only a strong engagement and commitment by China and the United States to cooperate on reducing emissions. We think that the situation will will be better in the next years because the cost of decarbonization will be lower than the cost of continuing in global fossil assets. China and India, despite the declaration, we think that they will accelerate the decarbonization because it is a question of business. In this slide, I would like to make a comparison between the two goals, the global goal for COP26 and the goal fixed in Green Deal by European Union. You know, there is a 45% respect 2010 and a 55% in European 27 respect 1990. If we relate these two targets to 2020, it's easy to see that it's more challenging for the global target because we have now the situation of today, a reduction of 50%, and for European Union is just 40%. So it's a very challenging path, and there will be a lot of things to do. Let me pass to some consideration in addition to the consideration made by Simone and Ahmet. We are very aware that the recent price spike has not been determined by decarbonization and renewables. The cost of the gas raw material determined the price spike, first of all, but also the increase in CO2 prices recorded in recent months in our estimation and in number estimation affects only a small part of the cost of gas-fired electricity generation in the EU. Furthermore, a clear indication has come from European Securities and Markets Authority. There is no evidence of abuse in the ETS market. Renewables now today are the most competitive energies. Let's have a look to the Italian case. In Italy, it is possible to make a public PPA with a fixed price for 20 years at the price of around 68 euros per megawatt hours. Maybe that we can develop new projects also with a lower price. The November spot price has been of 226 euro per megawatt hours. So it's very easy to see that renewables are not a problem, but they would be the solution. An exercise we did on total electricity bill for Italy. The expected electricity bill for 21 is around 75 billion euros. If we had hypothetically already reached the electricity generation mix necessary to hit the Green Deal 2040 target, that is 70% RES on the electricity generation mix, the total cost of the bill would be 45 billion compared to 75 billion, lower than 40%, and Italy would save 30 billion a year. Passing to the targets for our country and what we expect happening in the next years. As you know, European Union has set a target of at least 55% of reduction CO2 equivalent. For Italy, respecting this target means for electricity sector increasing the share of renewable energy from the current 48% to over 70% by 2030. In terms of CO2 reduction, means 64% for electricity sector, 51% for transport and thermal, and 57% in other sectors. In terms of evolution in renewable capacity, we will pass from 57 gigawatts estimated in 2021 to 127 gigawatts by 2030. The incremental gigawatts needed are composed by solar, moreover, 35 solar utility scale and 15 distributed solar, 14 wind, 2 gigawatts divided between hydroelectric, bioenergy, and geothermal, and 5 gigawatts in the provision of resiliency and recovery plan by innovative renewable sources like wind offshore and PV offshore. Which benefits for Italy? We estimated 90,000 new jobs, 100 billion euros investment, 50 million tons avoided emission of CO2 equivalent. About investments, we expect 50% generation, 25% networks and digital, 25% storage. But there is an issue, a very important issue as discussed also by Alessandro. We need a strong acceleration in permitting, otherwise we will reach the target in 2090. Italy in 2020 was the last of the major European economies for new renewables installation. It is also the country with the longest times and the highest cost to obtain an authorization. We have a lot of cases in regions with no authorizations or with insignificant percentage of authorization, both for photovoltaics and wind. And we think that it's a missed opportunity for our regions. In Italy, local regions are the subject who have to authorize the projects. There is a discussion about how share the contribution they have to give in order to reach our target. In our opinion, they will compete, they should compete for obtaining more gigawatts, because as I showed in previous slides, there is a clear advantage in terms of investments and new jobs. And in this slide, you can see how we can distribute this advantage among the different areas of Italy. Two words, because before ending, about the role of gas. In next years, we think that the role of gas will be very, very important, because the development of renewable energies will be concentrated, focused mostly on the intermittent technologies, and the role of gas will be very important, both in permitting the substitution of coal-fired electricity generation, and also to give a backup to in terms of flexibility for the electricity system. Finally, our key messages for the government and for regions in order to achieve the target Green Deal. In our opinion, the government has to approve as soon as possible the new National Integrated Energy and Climate Plan in line with the 55% target. The regions agree among themselves on the distribution of the 70 gigawatts to be achieved. And last but not least, there is a very important issues with the superintendencies that now they tend to hinder the realization of new renewable plants. They would keep awareness that the new plants, avoiding the destructive effects of climate change, contribute to the protection of the landscape, and it is very, very important in our opinion. Thank you for the attention, and I let.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to all the speakers. You finish your presentation mentioning superintendencies, that I think is a word that this is difficult to understand for instance, for Ahmet, because it's a typical Italian entity that at the moment is one of the reasons of the difficulty to go on with new projects, and not only for renewable, I say, because all industrial projects or infrastructure projects require authorization with many entities that must express their opinion or their approval, and superintendency, that is an entity whose vocation is the respect of the not environment but the antiques and monuments and landscapes and so on, is a key entity for the approval of new projects. I don't know if there are questions for oh. Sorry. If there are questions among the speakers, there are any questions? No? Then I say thank you to all the speakers and congratulations for your effort to give important and clear information and assessment on the situation and on the way to follow the right to a transition that can be balanced with the different needs, because we talked only of a part of the problems of the issues that we have for the transition, but there are many others that are interested to follow, to develop, and perhaps in the other session, if you are interested, the session of our conference in the following days you can hear. For the moment, I say thank you to all the speakers and see you next time, perhaps next year.
Thank you. It was great to be together. See you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank
See you. See you. Bye.